Yeah, first of all, apologize for being so late or delayed with this episode. I promised to make an episode about deep draft versus shallow draft, and that's about the keel on cruising sailboats. There is always good things and negative things with all solutions. That's why it's always a compromise. And if you're new to this channel, I'm solo sailing my Bavaria 55 cruiser. It's a 2012 model. This is not the first boat I have owned. I have actually owned so many boats I lost count of it, and it's been anything from long keel to deep draft to racing boats and cruising boats and holiday boats and dinghies. I started sailing as 7 years old, my first boat, and have had several boats ever since, sometimes even 2 different boats. In episode 110, I showed you some of the challenges you might face at anchor, and also shared my point of view of how different boats swings at anchor because of different size, weight, hull design and keels. And if you have been observant at anchor, you might seen that boat does not only swing differently, but some also roll different. And I'm gonna share my point of view of this. I don't claim to have the blueprint again, but it's my opinion and how I look at it. This is a bit complicated, but I'm gonna try to narrow it down as simple as possible. Different designs will have different metacentric height, and GM is the distance between the centers of gravity and meta. The higher positive number, the stiffer boat. If it's negative, it will capsize. With a positive GM, the boat will roll back to neutral. How much rolling a specific hull design have can be calculated with this equation. But this equation does not take in the hydrodynamic resistance in the keel, which in my head also plays a significant role in this picture. Not only for sailing. The difference between GM formula and GZ formula is different rules comes to play when reaching a certain degree of heeling over or external force like wind into the sail. For a dinghy sailor, this means body weight is what compensating for the keel's weight, because it will reach negative GM very fast without compensating. Meaning GZ formula comes to play in terms of counterweight towards the force wanting it to capsize. Different designs and ballast would also change the formulas, giving different behaviors like on a catamaran. I'm not gonna try to speculate in metacenter height on this because this is complicated, but obviously the buoyancy in 2 hulls spread out have a significant positive effect on its GM sitting at anchor. This could explain the wobbling behavior instead of rolling as on a monohull until a certain size of waves. Knowing these rules and formulas, it's therefore reason to assume identical boats with different keel not only will swing different but also roll different. A wider body with flat bottom will have increased buoyancy and share some of the benefits from the catamaran, but still it will never sit as flat at anchor as a catamaran, due to even wider body shared with 2 hulls. At anchor, deeper keel could also play a role here on the wide body. And to the more extreme, you will see the compromises even on a racing trimaran, where comfort is sacrificed on the altar of performance. Some will roll almost more than a modern monohull, and also have some noise when the narrow hulls hit the water. Accommodation in these hulls is not a very good idea. Not very convenient, and elevation up and down with splashing noise could be pretty tiring. A trimaran focusing on cruising would typically be designed different, having all its 3 hulls in the water for increased stability. The performance will be reduced due to more surface and drag. However, it would definitely be more quiet and comfortable sitting at anchor. So again, it's a compromise. If I should summarize from episode 110 and this episode, a catamaran made of steel with long keel and lots of weight and even being catch rigged most likely would be the winner. Meaning swinging less, rolling less and sitting like a rock. However, the performance on a boat like this would at its best be interesting. Here you can see the difference in mast height on a 40, 55 and a 50 footer. The same proportional differences is normally what you would see under the surface if we had a video of the keels. My point is, even with a shallow draft on the 55-footer, it will still be much deeper than the 40-footer with a deep draft for its size. Meaning the bigger boat, the more water you need. And to some this could be a compromise, or even a limitation if depending on intercoastal waterways. Even though the mast most likely would be the first problem, even for a shallow draft catamaran. Some claims you cannot go blue water sailing with a shallow draft. I would say it's false, just as the other way around. However, with a shallow draft there could be some pitfalls worth knowing about, like performance and weight. Long time since I learned these things, so I might be wrong here. However, you would have to use a heavier metal to achieve the same weight in a shorter keel, unless it's changed to also slightly longer, acquiring the same weight or even more. From my amateur perspective, it's possible you would also need to even add more weight to reach the same GM, not to forget the GZ curve. Sitting at anchor, this would not be noticeable except for slightly less roll due to surface resistance in the keel. The center of buoyancy should not be much of a difference either between identical designed hulls. This is not accurate, as it's more factors coming into play, but reversing the rules from racing where deeper keel meant less weight, I assume shallower keel needs more weight, reaching neutral. To compensate, you would either need to add weight or reduce the power illustrated here from sail to kilos, having the same GZ curve with the same weight in the keel. Pretty well demonstrated on this boat, moving body weight further out on the poles, or even adding more bodies as counterweights, compensating for more kilos in the power in the sail as the wind increase. A bit old school extreme racing boats don't have ridiculous deep drafts for fun. It's also compensating for lighter keel weights towards more power. Very thin lightweight keels working as the weight arm for the compact weight in the bulb, similar to the scale I just showed you. So it's plausible you would need to add more weight to the keel on identical boats reaching the same neutral point. Then imagine the standard version has 1250 kilos load capacity and 6 persons within the certification for all oceans category A. Personally, I'm curious in how added weight impacts the certifications, because I know certifications are with some margins. However, I'm surprised to have seen same loading capacity with different keel options with different weight. If you follow me on this, hopefully you will understand the importance of not overloading your boat, as it will have an impact on the physics and could move you from category A to B, meaning you don't have an all-ocean going vessel anymore. Ironically, it's the long-distance sailors cruising with overload, and not the holiday cruisers with their coastal sailing. This might be the reason some claims shallow draft is not suitable for blue water sailing, but I don't agree. The same challenge goes for standard draft. We all should pay attention to our weight. And first sign being far beyond overload is normally if you have to raise your waterline. Then you are no longer sailing a Class A yacht, and this goes for shallow or deep draft, which anyway is the standard draft for most mass production yachts. So please remember, I'm not a nautical architect or an engineer. I'm just a simple sailor, and I'm sharing my point of view and how I look at things based on how I learned things long time ago, and it might even be outdated, and even some things I might remember wrong. Anyway, I hope, and that's my motivation for this, to point you in some direction and create some awareness about loading capacity on your sailing boat. Also to point you in some directions and maybe inspire you to do your own research. There is of course several other options like lifting keels, and again it will come with compromises, often sacrificed space inside and in some designs even affecting the performance. Not to forget adding another bullet to your maintenance. Which compromises sailors know about or are willing to accept variates. To me, shallow draft on a 55 makes no sense. Twin rudders, deep keel and a wide body was on my wishing list, buying B3 almost 5 years ago. But this is based and colored by my experience and not necessarily the best option for you. Luckily, there is options covering different needs and priorities. Strong opinions is often reflecting which box of category the sailor belongs to. and some have, like me, been jumping in and out of different categories for decades. My point is, every sailor will see things different, meaning there is few blueprint but more opinions based on experience or even limitations of so. However, there is some hard facts difficult to ignore. And now we move over to the keel's importance to performance. And to me, this is important, as I love sailing more than being at anchor or staying in a marina. The easiest way to explain this is from a dinghy sailor's perspective. This keel is only there for performance, and for close reach you drop the keel down to point highest possible, and uses the body weight to control the ballast, moving weight forward to reduce drag, sailing faster, and even lifting the keel. Sailing close reach, the keel must be down, and depending on how much power in the sail, moving body weight up on the side. Even this classic boat is depending on mastering manual stability control by moving body weight to not capsize. But it has even a performance function as well. The more upright position, the faster sailing due to more wind in the sail than if heeling over. Funny part is the low-tech solution is similar to what's used on modern high-tech ocean racers, like the big Volvo Ocean Race yachts. How much and where you place the weight is therefore an important aspect in sailing. Not only for stability, but also for performance. And instead of sending the crew out on poles from the side, this yacht can swing their canting keel to manipulate the stability for the exact same reason. Even sharing another trick with the dinghy sailors. Dropping down the keel that's on this type is called dagger boards. Also here, this is for performance only. A typical mass production cruising catamaran have only small keels, improving core stability but not enough for performance, even though it's tempting to call this a deep draft version. Adding dagger boards on this category makes no sense, as it's designed towards comfort above performance. A performance multi-hull normally have dagger boards, just as the performance ocean racer and the tiny dinghy. So for some designs, the keel's only mission is performance. And difference in performance for keel boats is typically a shallow or long keel points around 40 to 45 degrees, where the standard draft would be around 30 to 40 degrees. It can even be as much as 20 degrees difference, meaning some mass production cruising catamarans would even point better than a shallow draft monohull. So if you have a bigger budget and prefer to sail with shallow draft, a catamaran could be an even better solution, sharing possibilities to cruise shallow water but rolls less at anchor. But then again, this is my opinions, based on the boxes I've been playing inside, and might be totally nonsense to you. Takeaway from this episode, no matter if your priorities is performance, comfort or something in between, could be to focus on your boat's loading capacity, especially for long distance sailors. It doesn't really matter if your long keel can handle a collision with a whale better than a thin, deep torpedo keel if you're capsized halfway over the ocean due to overload. Said in other words, you can go on adventure on a motorbike, or with a car, with even a caravan. But how much you like to carry with you could force you to move up to a motorhome. Just as the weight plays a huge role on land, it also plays a role at sea, even though you might not be pulled over for a weight control. I have moved the explanations and review of my dinghy garage and swimming platform to the next episode. And I'm also working with an episode how to understand mass production yachts and the shortcuts they take. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, even though it was a little bit more technical than normal. If you haven't already, I would be very happy to see you subscribe to my channel and even hit the notification bell to not miss the next episode. Then it's not much more to say than thank you so much and all the best. Stay safe, take care. Cheers!